What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Three Kings podcast. We are visual. We have stepped it up a notch as we have promised. We're so excited about what is happening here. As normal, I am your host, Rob B. Free Badgett, alongside...
What's going on? This is your man, Resurrect, in the building.
So smooth. What's up? This is Mr. Wells, a.k.a. Big Steel. Hello, everyone.
And we got a special guest with us today.
Yes.
And you are...
Yolanda Lewis, the Yolanda Lewis.
The? Is that on the title?
It is.
Branded.
Like
The?
Like the one
Copyright.
and only.
When did the...
I like it.
Okay.
Like the one
like
and
it, I
only.
like it.
Because there's a lot of Yolanda Lewis out there. So
It's true.
I gotta step out
True.
and be different.
Well, we've known you since you were Yolanda Penn. Yeah.
true.
I almost said it. I was
time
like, Yolanda Penn's...
That's
wait a
prophetic
minute.
Right.
because she has a pen gift.
Is that... you know what?
That was all the way deep.
Yeah.
That was good. That
yeah.
was
Artistic gift.
But we are
indeed.
here,
Yes.
back in business, back in action. We're so excited about what we're doing.
Yes.
And listen, the sponsorships and advertisement opportunities will be coming soon.
Soon.
We're so excited about. How you guys feeling about the visual part?
They
I
can
love it.
see us now.
They can see
They can
us.
see us.
They know what we look like.
How do
Yes.
you feel? Because
People in India and stuff.
in India,
That's
in
right.
Indonesia.
Yes.
Is it?
Konnichiwa.
And our followers from Russia.
Yes.
Thank y'all.
Thailand is doing
Yeah.
it big. We got
We have 2
point-
followers in Japan.
Bam.
God bless you.
.2 in Thailand.
Konnichiwa.
Did we already talked about my cruise because I can't let it go.
No, we didn't.
We
talk about
did.
your
We did.
cruise.
I went to
that?
Belize.
Oh.
how was that?
Yes.
Belize or Belize?
Belize.
Honeymoon.
There's
Okay.
a Z on there.
There is a Z.
Honeymoon.
Belize, Honduras,
Ooh. Nice.
Spain, Africa, Egypt.
Ooh.
No, I didn't go to those places.
Oh, yeah.
They're not even close. They're not even close.
That's a long cruise.
Nah, it was a couple different places, man, but it was fun, and I'm still trying to get over it. I had a dream about it last night, actually.
You did?
I
About
was
your
like,
cruise?
man, I was still on the boat. You know, that's when life hits you, and you're like, dang, this is my life when I come back to it.
How much weight did you gain?
But what did you get out of the trip?
Food?
In addition to the weight,
No.
what did
Because
you
you
get?
put on like 15 pounds after that cruise. That's what your wife said.
I'm sensitive about that.
Sorry.
Actually, I've been on a smoothie cleanse, so I lost at least 7 of it. I know you don't believe
How
in food.
healthy is smoothie cleanse?
Oh,
Exactly.
thank
Thank
you. We've
you.
been arguing about it all
Thank
day.
you
Sorry.
You don't
very
believe in
much.
smoothie cleanses?
I don't.
It does
I
not
don't.
Why
work.
don't you believe in smoothie cleanses?
It's ridiculous.
It's temporary.
Twice it worked.
It
It's
doesn't.
temporary.
It doesn't
Rob,
work.
Tell them about your results. You've
It's
never been
ridiculous.
the same.
You can see my results.
No, it's
I've
stupid.
done it twice. Listen, you can't live on the smoothie.
Right.
cleanse.
Correct.
No.
It's a cleanse.
It's not.
It's something you do
It's
for
ridiculous.
a certain time.
Drink water if you want to cleanse.
All right, we're Christians. We've been fasting.
That's all you gotta do.
We fasted before, so smoothie cleanse is a step up from
Smoothie
that.
cleanse is ridiculous.
William
Okay.
doesn't fast, though.
I do fast.
No, you
No,
don't.
he
Yes, I do.
eats fast.
What-
That's what he does.
I fast and I eat fast.
but the cruise was good.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things that I did get out of it was the cultures are so much different.
Yeah.
Like you see things that you take for granted here. The money's different. The people are different. You see the impacts that when different countries have war, these smaller places, how they're impacted is totally different from what we see here, man. Just the luxuries and the opportunities here. Like, there's things that I don't like about the U.S., but pretty sure I'm not moving to Honduras. That's not
Pretty
gonna
sure you'd
happen.
rather be here
Yeah.
than anywhere else.
I would. And it's always the people that have never traveled outside the country that don't recognize that, man. And, but whatever the case, we ain't here to talk about me. But we are
We're not.
here to talk
We're not.
to our guest today, Miss
Yes.
Yolanda
Yes.
Lewis.
Yes.
Tell the folks
Glad to be here.
tell the folks what it is that you do.
Yes.
So I do. I actually have 2 businesses. That's it.
Two, plural.
No.
But
Ooh.
under those 2 businesses, one of them has 4 brands.
Okay.
So for
Okay.
that, it can
Okay.
look a little busy, but it's really just 2 businesses. Underneath one of the brands, I have a publishing company. I have a media company. I have my own brand, and that's a company as well.
Is that the Yolanda Lewis?
That
one?
is, although I've repurposed that because nobody cares about the Yolanda Lewis. But what they do care about is let's get emotional, and we'll talk about that. a
Yeah,
little
one of the
later.
reasons that you did come up on the radar because you did just help somebody in
I did,
particular
yes.
with his book. Minister Pastor Resurrect, what was your book about, and how did that process work for you?
So this was a great opportunity when I hooked up with Yolanda to write my first book, which is called Dating Plus God Equals Questions. And when you have something that's like your baby, it's the
Yes.
first project coming out the gate. You want to make sure that you get somebody who's going to care about your project just like you care about
Yes.
it. Somebody that you can trust.
Right.
So I said, there's no better hands than put in somebody who's a best-selling author
Okay.
over here.
What was it like working with this guy?
It was fun. It was fun. He was actually one of my easiest clients.
Really?
Yeah, you get a
Because it
lot
only
of.
was like a magazine, right?
It was like
What?
20
Like
pages,
that-
right?
like 7
That
pages.
was
30
wow. You
pages.
guys are
Like a
brutal
magazine.
here.
My
My
book
goodness.
is tailored for the audience.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
it
like a
was
digital
short.
book and
It's less
paper.
than 100 pages.
But here's the let me. I'm gonna have your back right here
Thank
because
you.
you guys are something else. So. It's important that you know who your target audience is.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So if you if
We
your
liked the
tar-
book. The book was dope.
if you have a target audience of, let's say, millennials, they're not reading a 200 plus page book. They're not.
It's
So if
true,
you want them to finish it, you need to keep it short and get to the point.
Was that your objective?
And in the beginning,
Yeah.
no. But it worked out.
I know it wasn't. Of course it
I'm
wasn't.
telling you, it was my first book, so it took me a long time to write it.
Sure.
And when she called me and said, "Yeah, it's X amount of pages," I said, "No, stretch.
It took
like,
me-
what font are you using? What's the font count?"
Can we add 37 scriptures
Right.
in it so we can stretch
Right.
out that page?
Millennials aren't
But it
reading
worked
Stephen
out.
King books.
They're not.
1,000
They'll watch the
page books.
movie.
They'll watch the movie, but
They'll
they're not
wa-
reading those
They're not
books.
reading it.
Absolutely.
They're not
It
reading
worked
it.
out.
Yeah.
So if you really want to reach that, because that's the audience that needs the content that we have to share, the wisdom that we have to share.
Sure, sure.
They need it. So you've got to know how to give it to them in a way that they are going to not only receive it, but take it and actually do something with it.
Yeah. Do you find though, like one of the things that we try to empower brothers here? Do you find that there's a lot of men that are in the authorship space and really getting these stories out?
No. I think there's so many elements to writing a book that you have to, on an emotional level, get over. So the first step is to get over yourself to actually write it. And then the second step is to get over yourself to actually put it out there so people can use the content. So those two steps cause the brothers and the sisters to really get to a place where they don't maximize the message.
Do you find men struggle with that emotional part?
Absolutely.
Right.
That you fight with a lot of do I want all this out there about me? Because what happens is when you put this out there about you, and stories are best told when they are about you. But when you put that out there about you, you're now open to feedback.
Yeah.
And I say feedback, but really criticism, and everybody else's opinion about whatever they have to say, and everybody got something to say. And that space right there can, if you're not prepared, if you're not strong, if you're not really healed from what you're talking about, and you're just trying to make a quick dollar and all that kind of stuff, you won't make it far.
I think one of the things that is challenging though is that I think often people don't understand that men have emotions and how we communicate our emotions. Like
Yes.
it's just different from women.
It is.
Right? That
It
does
is.
not mean that they do not exist, but men are emotional beings, but how we process and how we communicate that is different. I think bar none, most people just say, you know what, men don't feel anything. You don't
Right.
have feelings. Oh, the only feeling you have is anger. Oh, you're upset. Okay.
And it's different for men. Most men aren't going to write down what they're feeling anyway, what's in their head.
No.
So it takes I have 3 books that haven't been published, but I'm finished with them. I
Right.
just haven't gone to the next step.
Yeah.
But it took me almost 10 years
Yeah.
to put everything down.
What are your
on
books
paper.
about?
Absolutely.
So I have a book about my personal experiences in my life. I have an ebook that I just finished, and I created a children's book that I haven't. It's like they're just
I
sitting
love
there,
it.
and I haven't done anything.
Why are
with
they
them.
sitting there?
Because I haven't been
Yolanda
to the
Lewis
next
in his
step.
life.
Yeah.
What is the
Yeah.
next step? Give
Yeah.
them some coaching. What
So
is the next step?
The
Next
next
step
step
is to dial this number.
that actually is your next step. So the
'Cause
next
hold
step,
on,
if you're done.
He actually has them in a notebook. Like he wrote them out on a legal pad.
Oh wow.
Yes.
Okay, so
in
what?
the bathroom.
Uh,
Yes.
Whatever.
That's where he did it.
I wrote them down on legal pad. Yes.
typical guy. But what I would recommend you do is actually, we could meet after this and I can talk to you about that. But for those who are out there who are in that same space, right? Because it's not just about us right here, it's about those who are listening. Those who are out there in that same space, I would encourage you to find someone that you trust to type all that up for you, because that's the only way.
Do you know
that
who's someone you trust?
I was going to ask my wife, but my wife doesn't want to. She wants
Why
me to
not?
do it.
Why does she not want to?
Because she just wants me. She wants me to do it.
Right.
Did she see you type?
But that's what I told her.
Has she seen that?
I'm like 2 fingers.
Yeah.
That's
But
like
she wants me to do it.
20 more years.
See, babe, I told you. Confirmation.
You need to have it in a document that can be shared with a publisher or someone who's going to help you to review that next step. So you can't send them a notebook.
Sure, yeah.
So for some of my clients are young and have written it down, and that's just the way that they're comfortable with flowing. Some of them are older and they have written it down, don't have access. So we offer services that help you to. We have like a courier come pick it up and we type it up for you, so that you can get the process started. Because you don't know what you have until you've had it all typed up, so you can actually read the flow of it. You and I went through that. So you need to see what you have so you know what's missing, so you know what is applicable and makes sense to your reader. Because again, it's not just about you. I had a question someone asked to me about when I go speak. So I do speaking and all that other good stuff. And they said, one of the clients that I coach, they said, do you ever get nervous? And I said, you know what? I used to. Every time I was getting ready to go speak, I would get nervous, I get anxiety, all this kind of stuff. But then I got to the point where I said, I'm not nervous, because at the end of the day, it's not about me. So that nervousness was me like, oh my gosh, what are they going to think? What are they going to say about what I have to say? However, when you turn that and really look at why you're there, I'm going somewhere with this. Really look at why you're there, and what you have to say and how it's going to make someone else's life better, how it's going to enhance the quality of their life. Nervousness is gone, because then it's not about you.
Before we get to your 9th book or your 10th book, going back to the early days.
Well, wait, let me finish this.
Oh, you wasn't finished with your book?
I had to bring it
Okay,
back forward.
got it.
Let
So,
us finish.
I thought she was that was that preacher part.
Just leading
I
it up.
know.
That was
The
leading
preacher
up to it.
pause.
You know what?
My bad.
Someone said to me that I was a professional preacher, because I'm
Yeah.
not a preacher. I'm not a preacher. But anyways,
Because
my
the Bible
point
doesn't
was
believe in that.
right.
No, I'm joking.
My point was, you do the same with a book.
Yeah.
You have to get to the place where it's not about you, and you're
Yeah.
only focused on what it's going to do for
Right.
someone
True,
else.
true,
All right, now I hit it.
Okay, I
home.
can get in there?
You can get in
Okay,
there.
double
Get it.
Dutch.
Double Dutch.
Double Dutch.
One of the first books that I don't know if it was,
Yes,
the
you
journal
did
was the
read
first
my-
one or
no,
the was it
the other one was the first one.
the
The power of
the
the power.
right. Shh, it's a
That was
secret.
before I knew anything about anything.
Listen.
I did it scared. I did it I didn't know nothing.
You drew pictures.
I did.
with bodies
'Cause that
in the
was how
back.
that's how I saw it.
Right.
That was the vision.
Getting that out, like what? Because you
Oh, man.
shared a lot of personal things.
Yeah,
in
that
there.
was heavy.
And we talk about we're going to get to the emotional part, like,
Yep.
but how can people get to a point where these traumatic events that have happened with them, being bold enough to say, okay, I'm going to write this down, but then I'm going to release it. Like, what was that process like for you?
Oh man, it was a lot, because it's not about, you don't think about it being a boldness. So for me, in my first book, it was more about being obedient. I felt the Lord say to write it. Now, mind you, it had been 20 years since my first encounter. So for those who don't know what the heck we're talking about, my backdrop in terms of trauma, I was sexually abused from age 3 to 11, growing up by male and female. So I was all jacked up. And so with that, as I began to heal, which I believe you heal in layers. So
Absolutely.
as I begin to heal, that first layer was about me getting it out. And as you know, our bodies are not designed, you probably can relate most to this, our bodies are not designed to hold stuff in. We're designed to release, whether it's
Absolutely.
sweat, just toxins are not
Smoothies.
designed to stay inside of us.
Smoothies. Yep. That's what they do.
Smoothies. So with that being said, the Lord wants us to release emotionally as well. A lot of times we relate emotion to weakness. And it's not. So when I went through my process, it was about the Lord making me strong through my weakness, through his strength, to be able to be obedient. That's all I could handle at that point, was to be obedient to write it. So I actually started my writing journey writing poetry. Not a poet,
yeah.
but I remember sharing it with you. I don't remember if I shared it with
Yeah,
you, but that's who was close to me. We go way back, y'all, way back. So that helped me to release. And then from there, the Lord just began to give me the words to say. So it's interesting because my first book, the feedback that I got was it was too one-sided, meaning it was only scripture in there. It was nothing else. It couldn't go further than, if you will, those who could relate to scripture, because it was all about Jesus,
So it was
and
like a
how he healed
devotional.
me. No, it was actually,
it was
it
very
was a
personal.
memoir. Yeah,
Really?
it was very personal. I actually give a detailed account of 2 stories that I went through.
Wow.
So some people can't handle it because it's that potent.
Sure, yeah.
But for those who can relate, you're that raw. When you do come out,
Yeah.
you don't have no secrets, and that's why it's called that. Because I was told after my first experience to be quiet and to
Yeah,
hold it in, and so I did that through a lot of my life. You and I actually had conversation. I don't know if you remember.
I do.
But we were walking
Yeah.
home, and you used to hate that I smiled so much.
Was this the bus stop walk?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep, the bus stop walk.
We've
He
told
said
that
he
story
said he
Hold
was
on,
recently
pause,
saved. Yeah,
pause.
yeah.
Because we need to clear this up right now. She was
Uh-oh.
the third person that was there
Uh-oh.
with the dude that pulled over the car. She was there. The one that you said, he says.
What?
He's been telling this narrative. I'm sorry to interrupt your
No,
deep
it's all
story.
about stories.
He's been telling this narrative. She was
was on a
there.
roll.
No. Listen, I'm sorry. I'm
What are you
sorry.
talking about?
I'm going to get to it. He's been telling the
Calling you out.
world that he protected me from bullies. And this one particular day,
Bullies?
we were
Yes.
walking home, and this car pulls up, and this guy jumps out of the car, and he wants to attack me, and I freeze up in total fear, and he jumps in front of me.
I did.
Stops the car.
Correct.
Threatens the bad guys.
Yes.
I don't remember.
You were
that.
there. You
She
were the
wasn't.
third person.
No,
I
she
do
was
not
because
remember
she
that.
walked
Yes,
off.
she
She was
was.
like, we was like, what were you doing? She's like, oh, I was praying.
She's
She was
not
there.
going to
said that?
authenticate
Yes.
your story.
Dang it.
She wasn't
She
there.
was there.
She doesn't remember.
She was
I
there.
don't
She started to
remember.
walk
Remember.
away.
Yeah.
She was like, oh my God. She started to walk
And she
away.
was
She started
praying.
praying.
I
Whatever.
she
probably
wasn't
did.
there
I was
when
I was
protected
real
you.
Sorry.
deep in high school. I was
Sorry.
extra.
Sorry.
That's part of the emotional problems that they have. So let's
Sorry.
Yeah.
Wait, can I
Totally
ask you?
is. Yes.
So, in terms of dealing with men and
Yes.
wanting them to, or encouraging them to
Yes.
write stuff down
Yes.
and to get a book out
Yeah.
if it's a traumatic experience,
Right.
how do you encourage men going through trauma?
love that
or
you asked
who have
that.
been through trauma. How do you encourage them as a woman to really just be confident on what they're writing?
Yeah, I love that you asked that. We did a book project with 4 guys,
Mm-hmm.
and the 4 guys, they had all been through some type of trauma.
Soulgasm.
Yes, Soulgasm for
boys
Men.
on it.
I know it.
read all
It's a
your
really,
stuff.
really good book.
Really?
And it's a fiction story though. But that was the way that they wanted to share their story. So that's what I encourage brothers to do. If you are not at a place where you want to share, like, hey, this is me and this is what I've been through, and I was even sexually molested, because there's a whole lot of that for brothers too. If you don't feel comfortable going there, you can always write it as a fiction piece. So you can still release, but you go into the character and are still able to share in that way.
Wow.
So what we do is we do group calls, we do, all kind of group kind of coaching, or if it's not a group, if it's individual, we do individual coaching. We have packages that cater to if you haven't written yet and you need help with
Are you
actually
a
writing.
therapist, strategist?
No,
Isn't it?
I know. I just love that space. You're so funny. I'm going to answer it in a serious way, but I know you're kidding. But
No, it's like you doing like. Go ahead. I'll say what.
Go
I'm
ahead.
saying.
No, go ahead.
No, but you're doing way
skill set's
more
coming out.
than the traditional
Yes.
business model.
Right.
Yes.
Like you're dealing with the heart of
Yeah.
the person.
Yes.
Like what you're saying, I wasn't expecting to hear.
Right.
Yeah.
I've never heard anyone talk like that. That's
At all.
Yeah.
Not
why
about
she's
authorship. You know what I mean? What'd you say?
I said that's why she's successful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nah, I think that's dope.
Well, but to that point, that's what when we look at our DNA, right? I'm going to go even more deeper, right? So when we look at our DNA, your molecular structure, the cells and all that, is the story of everything prior to.
Yeah.
So when we look at telling stories, you're shifting DNA by telling your story in whatever kind of way that you tell it. You're shifting it. So even in your book, not only did you shift your DNA, so your girls, when they read that book, they're going to know what kind of brother to look for. You're also shifting every reader who reads it, you're shifting their DNA because they now have knowledge. Let me give it to you in a different way, right? So I'm actually a doctoral student. And so in that, I came across this research, phenomenal. So rat, mice, mouse, I'm going to mess all that up, but just stay with me. So they did a study with a rat, and they gave the rat an aversion to a scent, right? He couldn't stand it, blah, blah, blah. Then they made the rat reproduce into the grandchildren's seed. And that grandchildren, mice, rat, whatever, they had the same aversion. The DNA molecular structure had the same aversion to that scent that they never smelt before. Never smelt before. So what they did to test the theory was now put the scent around them so they no longer had an aversion to it. They actually liked it, whatever, and had them recreate to the grandchildren's seed. And that grandchildren's seed no longer had the aversion. So what they learned from that study was when you shift the environment and shift the information, you change the narrative of the DNA.
Hey, you changed the
Listen,
DNA.
don't make
That's
me
heavy.
preach.
That's heavy.
Isn't that amazing?
You're not supposed
So
to preach.
it doesn't matter where you come from when you're. I can't stand y'all. Doesn't matter where you come from, what your background is.
Yeah.
None of that matters because your story can start now. Your story can start from right here and rebuild it. Sometimes you do have to revisit, and I don't believe in revisiting to the point where it creates the traumatic experience without therapy.
Right.
Sometimes you need that. I needed that.
Sure.
But you can start from right here, right now. And so that's how we help people.
It's funny you
to
say
get
about
that
the
done.
narrative. One of the things that I struggled with, because the book that I started to write
Yes.
was talking about my divorce and my marriage ending. And I struggled because I was like, I don't want to keep reliving this story, or I don't want to, paint a picture of a freeze space and time, because I was going to talk about some specific stories and events that happened.
Right.
So my mindset was, okay, well, if this other person changes, this may be the only way that they see this individual. And I struggle with that. But as I started to release and like Rob, he would tell me all the time, listen, man, this is just a part of your story, and your testimony is going to be used to, impact other people. It wasn't until I started to release it that the masses started coming back like, yo, leaving up to last night, where it was like some individuals who were going through some experiences and they were pulling on me for insight and wisdom from a healthier place where it was like before I was like, nah, I don't want to keep talking about that. But I think that we don't realize the power in the release,
Right. And that's why I said before, too, you have to get over yourself. Because at the end of the day, it's not about you. When we think small, right, when we have those insecurities and all that stuff blocking our flow, you can only see from, like, I just need this to get out. I just need this really. But when you're beyond that, when you can move that block, there's so much more reach that you actually have with your story.
Awesome.
There's so much more reach. So you can't leave yourself stuck behind your trauma. You can't do that because then it doesn't allow for the reach. So it doesn't matter about the little piece of, there's all kind of people in my stories. And if you know me, then you might be able to say, oh, I know who that was. Oh my gosh, I know that. But it's not just about for these little people who might know me. I'm reaching the people who have no clue who I am and are connecting with the message of what I'm saying and what I'm trying to share and teach. That's the impact that I want to make. My mind is not small enough to just see where I'm at and the little bit of 5 people that's around me that may be impacted. I don't believe in that.
Right.
I think that's a good point. It was easier for me to write when I started thinking about how it would affect other people.
Right.
You know what I mean? When I was in my own head and kind of focusing on myself, it took longer for me to put down on paper what I wanted. But when I started thinking about how my testimony, how my stories can help other people, that's when the writing got easier for me. Yeah, that's a good point.
Exactly. Yep.
Would you find in your experience one group of people are more emotional than another group?
When you say group, what do you mean, gender?
So
or race?
so male and female, right? So men, I know we're known for not expressing our emotions.
Right.
So from looking at it, it can look like men. Sometimes you can look at it and say that men are probably even more emotional, or they can't deal with their emotions more than a female can because they're not used to it, so they just run totally away from it.
Right.
Where women will like mostly process through it?
So I will say this. Women, we just talk a lot. It doesn't mean that we're saying actually processing our emotion and all that kind. We just talk a lot. Men, what I've learned.
A woman said that, not a man.
Yes, and it is the truth. We can chat it up all day long. So you almost got me off track. But I'll be vulnerable for a minute, right? Me, I've had a very hard time talking about my emotion, explaining how I feel, all that kind of stuff. My husband is rock solid on that. He's so strong in that way. And it doesn't mean he's girly or emotional or anything like that.
What they call me?
He's just very clear about how he feels. So he's a man of few words, but when he speaks, it's potent. It always blows me away. Me, I used to get, Christian and everything. When I get to the place of frustrated, I'm about to blow y'all away with this too. But when I get to the place of frustrated because I can't say verbally what I feel, what'd you say?
You cry?
No, I get angry and I start cussing. Everything is an F-bomb, everything.
Like the Apostle Rob, yeah.
So, but I had to learn, what I learned through even writing this book is how, in some ways, I was still doing that, right? Maybe not the cussing part, but I would still walk away from the emotion. So I'm not sure that I would say that it's just that women are so great and men are so bad, because I'm a woman who was so bad.
Well, let me ask this. Do you think there's a different process that men would have to go through in order to deal with their emotions than women? Or do you think it's both the same and then more men just need to get
I
on it?
love that question. It depends on your experience, and here's what I'll explain. So the brain, right?
Okay.
The brain. I'm not doctor yet. I'm getting there. Okay. The brain processes trauma, no matter what, whether it's sexual trauma or whatever, the same way. So I'll give you an example. If I filled this up all the way to the brim, right? It might not tip over, but if I keep dripping drops, eventually it will spill. And so that is how the brain processes trauma. It's when you've reached the limit of whatever your tolerance level is, that's what's trauma. So with that being said, I'll give myself as an example. For me in my life, because I experienced trauma at such a young age, my emotional aptitude, if you will, was stuck at that age, because that's how I dealt with. That's how I coped with the experiences that I had. Sure. That was the logical way. So all my life, I always leaned then on the left side of my brain, which is logical, which is analytical, methodical, all that kind of stuff. Where the right side is creative, it's intuitive, it's social, it's emotional. Right. And so I found myself, and I share this story actually in the book, I found myself in situations where, in the book I'll give the example, where I was super smart, and left brain strong, not just dominant, but strong. So I was 25 in my dream job, and my dream job was probably the atmosphere about 40-year-olds. In my brain, even though I was 25, I was probably about 30 on my left brain side. And in the job that I had, it was all technical, so it was all left brain, everything made sense. But on the right brain, I was probably about 12. So I found myself in situations where I was smart enough to be in the room, but when 40-year-old stuff came up, I only had 12-year-old tools to deal with.
High IQ, low EQ.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And so in that space, you got to work on that. Not to make your right side go higher or anything, just to have balance. So you can be a balanced person. So to your question, I think it depends on experience.
Okay.
So one of the I don't know if it's one of the businesses. Yes, Grown Women Real Talk, is that one?
That's my nonprofit. So with the two businesses, one is for profit, one is nonprofit.
Now, Grown Women Real Talk.
Yes.
Because I had an opportunity to be on one of your shows.
Yes.
What is the mission and objective for that?
The mission and objective of Grown Women Real Talk is about relational wellness. So how those emotions, if you will, play into relational health, meaning your relationship with self, your relationship as a parent, your relationship in a romantic setting, and your relationship with others, whether it's professional, whether it's friendships, what have you. So we do programs, and we have programming that caters to that mission and objective, giving information on how you may be able to better, or give yourself tools, rather, on how you can better enhance the quality of your life in those areas.
In that platform, what if you found, like, even from the audience of women and viewers that some of the biggest challenges with connectivity between male and female relationships? Like, what are those barriers?
I love it. I would say communication is the big one. And the reason I say it, and I can give the example with the left brain, right brain. So if you have a husband who is left brain, right, and you have a woman who is right brain, that's the typical, stereotypical setup anyways.
Yeah.
And they get into an argument. Okay, they get into an argument, and the woman is all about you know, you don't understand how I feel. I feel like this, and the guy is processing like, you know what, all this feeling stuff, I'm all set. I'm tapped out, and so I'm gonna go in the other room and go to bed and sleep wonderful because in his left brain he's already decided that, you know what, the next logical step is for me to tap out of this because you're starting to go into this right brain area that's not my lane. Right. So in order for me to cope and have balance, I've got to go to bed. And so he sleeps wonderful, where the woman is then left going bananas because she has no closure because her emotions are unsettled and all this kind of stuff. So
Can you sleep in an argument?
Can I sleep in an argument?
Yeah.
At this point in time in my relationship,
Yeah.
yeah, because we make a commitment.
Right.
Yeah. We'll
A
finish
commitment.
later.
A commitment is like, you can. Life is not a sitcom. Everything doesn't
It's
finish.
What
not.
about you?
in 30 minutes.
Like a baby.
He can sleep in a storm. The storm's not messing with my game.
We're arguing by 8:55. Like, okay, babe, we'll talk about it in the morning.
So, Yolanda, let me ask you this question,
Yeah.
right, before we jump into your book.
Yes.
You've known the three of us for a long time.
Yes.
Which one of us you think can handle their emotions the best?
I don't know.
Well.
These are the
You've known us as
version.
teenagers.
These are the grown-up version.
I know this is the grown. I have
You
to
the grown-up? Okay,
Yeah.
just the grown-up.
I was
version.
your
version.
first therapist. Okay, I had therapy experience and knowledge.
Listen,
and
don't be on this show telling all my
Okay.
business now. Yeah.
We're really waiting for the answer. Look at that.
I know. Like, geez, I was hoping somebody would skip to the next something.
What was the question
Goodness.
Which
He
one of
wants
us
me to
think-
vote on who is the strongest emotionally.
Yeah.
Is that the word strongest?
No.
This is what,
I said who can handle their emotions the
That's
best.
how
Who handles their
That's how I
emotions the
interpret
best?
it.
that's how she's
strong.
interpreting.
Okay, got it.
Remember, I'm logical, so
You're
I've got to
right.
make
You're
sense
right.
of it.
Yeah,
It's got to
you
have
gotta
a
have-
sequence.
Exactly. Two to
So-
five.
Scale.
So
Nothing to do with muscles.
no, definitely not.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
Rob is last.
I don't know. I mean, I've had the
We'll be
pleasure.
right back after these commercials.
Thank you. I've had the pleasure of working with Rob, so I probably would lean to
Don't
more
be fooled by
towards
the pastoral
Rob.
stuff. No,
No,
throw it
not
all out
because
the
it's a
window.
pastor. Because what I'm judging it off of is people change when things don't go their way or the way that they expect it. You get to see who they really are. And during a book project, everything does not always go as planned. And so I do my best to make it as easy as possible, and I give my all. I treat it like it's my own to fix whatever is, up. Or down rather, to put it back in place. And so I would say with Rob, the way he handled himself, I know I might be biased, but that's
Totally
what you get
biased.
for asking me a
and
question.
she's a doctor. Thank you.
He really wanted to set
I had a
himself up to look
doctor.
off.
So I would say Rob because he handles himself well in a point of high emotion.
That you know of.
That is, I was gonna say I haven't heard back that he talked trash behind my back.
Let her help you
It's
with
not
your
emotional,
books.
that's
Let
just
her help you
logical.
with your books, and then she can say something
But I
similar.
will say-
No, she's doing therapy with him. She's going to do the therapy authorship program.
Don't call me again until this is typed
Right,
up.
right.
I can't do it. I can't. No, but
Whatever.
Listen, I'm not going to vote because I already know who wins. But I remember
Absolutely.
for a long time, though, like I was emotionally dead. Like I did not know how to process emotions, like a recovering narcissist.
We're true sociopath.
No,
Absolutely.
we're just gonna go with narcissist for the day. We
Like
don't gotta
that's
go with
better, but
sociopath.
okay.
It was
Father
pretty
guy.
good.
Alright.
No, but I did not, because trauma, it's self-preservation now. Now I have to protect myself because I can't allow you into this space because you might hurt me.
Right.
And so for me, you have to shut down several senses in order to be stoic and to cope.
Yeah.
And so for so long, like I remember I had like an emotional breakdown,
Yeah.
which became a breakthrough. But it was like the first time I had cried in like 30 years,
right.
like actual tears. And the crazy part was the tears didn't actually come out first because my body didn't know how to process them.
I love that you said that.
I thought there was something else she was going to
I was
drop
gonna
out
say,
there.
but then I
Okay.
just realized I interrupted you.
No,
I
you
apologize.
throwing a little jab like you be doing to me.
And look, you guys are rubbing off. Wow.
Yeah. No, but my body didn't know how to do it. So it was like this wailing noise, and it was almost like a convulsing. It was the craziest moment I've ever experienced because it was like this convulsing shock. My body all my pistons had to refire again because it was like overload of dysfunction trying to meet the spiritual breakthrough to get back and reset into functioning.
Right.
You know what I mean? But
which doesn't happen quickly.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't. But I hadn't shed any type of emotional connection, and I didn't realize it because usually narcissists don't, because you're like, oh, it's always your fault. I have to pin this back on you. True. Gaslighter. You did that. Well, the reason why that happened was because you didn't understand. Right. All that, and it just kept going and projecting until I hit a major wall, and then I could breathe again and process a little bit better and because I'm right and left brain, and sometimes I got to know which one.
Well, everybody's right and left brain.
Yeah,
everyone.
He's definitely not.
That is a fact.
Just one is
weightlifting is not creative though.
Oh my
He's an artist. Don't lie.
He is.
Thank
He
you.
draws stick figures.
We'll talk, and I want you to see my
stick figures.
Don't
stick figures?
I'm going to show you.
Did you draw pictures with the little bullet?
Serious
You drew all the time.
It's called, what was it called? It's called Big Will's Adventures.
I love it.
I'm telling you.
I love it. It sounds adorable.
I can't wait to show you.
I love it.
So you're next.
Yes.
I love it.
2020.
Do it.
2020.
So
Let's make it happen.
Get
let's
into
see,
emotional.
Let's see if this book can help us out with some of our problems here.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Let's get emotional. No
Yes.
shame, no filter, no regrets. Tell us
Yes.
about it.
Oh man, so this book is so special because it talks about a lot of what we talked about today, in that it helps people to be aware of like, wow, I might be left brain dominant, and not just dominant, but strong. And here's how I can kind of navigate around that. Because what I found and this is what the book is about, is those are the things that stop you from being able to grow your business, from being able to be successful, from being able to, and successful as in whatever your call is to do, in order to really maximize and go exceedingly and abundantly above, allow God to be able to do that in your life. You have to believe that it can be done. And so when you're not emotional, when you don't get emotional, you miss those opportunities to tap into that. So, and to really, live the wealthy life we're supposed to live. So that's what this book is about. This book is for entrepreneurs as well as young professionals who want to just really soar in their career, whatever it is. It's not a get-rich book because I'm not rich.
But you are wealthy.
Yeah, I am wealthy in more ways than one.
So let me ask you this. In the business field, for people starting their business, what emotion do you think really comes out the most that holds them back? Is it fear?
Yes.
Is it what?
It's fear.
It's fear?
And I almost can't stand the saying false evidence appearing real, because fear is real. There's if you put a dog right here or a snake right here, I hate snakes. I'm scared. Oh, do you say that?
No.
You hate snakes for real?
I do.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're I can't even watch them on TV. That's how
Oh
bad
my
it is.
gosh.
He does too.
Like I feel like they're like coming from
He's
the couch.
afraid of
like-
water. Got it. Proceed with what you were saying.
Anyways, please continue.
So if you put a snake here, the fear that I feel is very real, because he really can bite me. I really could die. Or I could really have a traumatic experience.
Yeah.
What are you laughing at?
Funny. What is so
She's
funny?
talking about her trauma.
I
and
know,
you're
and you guys
laughing.
are laughing
No,
at me.
I'm not laughing. He's talking about snakes. Go ahead.
All right, so
They
with
weren't
that
on a
being
plane.
said, it's real. But what fear really is letting you know, because we always look at fear in the negative sense. Fear is actually just you reaching the edge. It's your body letting you know you're reaching to the limit of whatever you're used to. That's not necessarily a bad thing.
What's the difference between fear and danger, though?
Oh, that's different.
Because Will Smith said in After Earth, he was like, fear. Will Smith, the After Earth movie. The After Earth with his son, the one with his son. He said, fear is not real, but danger is real. You need to be aware of the danger that could be around you, because it can be dangerous. Fear is something that's mental. It's in the mind.
But it speaks to my point. That fear is letting you know that something could be dangerous. It's about a boundary.
Fear is like an alarm.
It's like an alarm.
Right. That's
So
true.
when we look at, like when we talked about writing the book, and that fear that you have of being all in your head about what people are going to say, blah, 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 blah. That fear is letting you know, like, you're about to do something you've never done before. That's not necessarily a bad thing. So when you're getting ready to start a business, that fear might come and say, oh my gosh, this is way beyond what we thought we could do.
True.
That's not necessarily a bad thing. It's a thing you need to address.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily a negative thing that you have to, shut it down, or false evidence appearing real, and I'm going to go and turn into this robot and not have emotion. No, it's about looking at why you have that fear. Not all the way back, all the way, but what makes you afraid?
Right.
What about that makes you afraid?
This book looks different than all your colorful ones.
Yes.
So
Colorful.
you
Fear
did-
is-
no.
is
This is
colorless.
like emotional.
you'd
There's
have
no
to see my
emotion
other
with
8
this
books.
one. I've
No,
seen them.
yeah.
Why did you make this?
I love that
no
you asked
emotional.
that. So,
I don't feel
So it's like,
emotional.
it's a brick wall.
It's like no emotion.
So the brick wall represents.
Back cover is emotional.
Then
Yes.
there's
Can
that.
she explain the brick wall, please?
Sorry.
Yeah, so the front cover, we'll do the front then the back, all right?
Okay.
So the front cover,
Hey, you
I'm so
relevant.
glad this is a video so that they can actually see what you're talking about. This would be
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
difficult if
It would. Now we're
Wouldn't it?
visual though.
Yeah.
High five.
High five to
There
the
you go.
visual. All right. So with the front cover, the brick represents strength, because a lot of times you are a lot stronger than you give yourself credit for.
Whoa.
And then the white brick represents the white space that I talk about in the book that's important to create in order to create.
Okay.
Oh boy.
So I left the cover blank, white space.
See
That
that?
means you have to remove some things that was
That's,
causing
you
the
got
trauma.
it. You got
Oh.
Tag
See, the
team
non-creative
service.
guy wouldn't
Listen,
have cut that
listen.
at all.
I already did.
You didn't catch that
Listen.
because you're not
I didn't.
creative.
And then the back
That's
cover
right.
is, if you'll notice that I have
That's emotional.
I'm in a my posture
It's
is
emotional.
open, right? My posture, my outfit, even I'm showing skin, and the reason for that is because I'm showing
Skin is human
vulnerability.
connectivity.
Well, vulnerability,
Sorry.
but
It's
close,
vulnerability.
yeah, vulnerability.
connectivity.
Oh, is that
Um,
what it is?
yeah, vulnerability. So I'm being emotional, which that's actually a big deal for me. Appleheads. That's
You thought all of that?
I did.
She does.
Yeah.
Get your book done by Yolanda, and she will go through all of that with you.
We go through all of that.
So, how would you brand this?
Well, we'd have
What
to
are you
talk
talking
about
about?
what
Would be
his
a
brand
double
is.
book.
All he wears is plaid. Can we start with
She will
that?
brand it like this and have his front over here and his back.
All he wears is plaid shirts. He's got 3 of them.
You know,
I
it's
have 10
interesting.
plaid shirts.
It's interesting because it depends on your brand, right? So for me, a
doesn't
lot of
have
people
one.
put their face on the front cover. You don't always have to do that. It depends
Yeah.
on what your brand is. Could I have? Yes. But for this book, it's so special because it's not about me. I have to be honest so you know who I am, who the heck I am. But it's not about me. So I didn't want to be in the front. I didn't want to brand myself as whatever. Not for this book. Maybe the next one, I don't
Yeah.
know. But for this, it's so special. It's just very different. I need you to get the message. That's so just important to me. The message.
I know how I'll brand your book.
Go ahead, ready.
I will put you on the front with no shirt on, with all of no. Listen.
So
Go
you
ahead.
all-
hold on.
there's
Listen.
no-
Hold on, which book? Is this the children's book?
Yeah. No, not the
Definitely
children's
not
book.
the children's
Got it.
book.
No, the book
Got
is
it.
my story. I'll put you with no shirt on, right, with all of your medals and all of your trophies, and in the back, a young boy crying.
What is the name of your first
Boom.
What's the name of your first book?
Where
You
you
could do
came
something
from to
like
where you
that.
are now.
What is the name of your first book?
Where was God?
Boom.
Ah.
Trying to tell you where you at now,
good.
where you was.
Where
So
was God?
my original idea for the cover was to have a young boy in the closet, but the closet's open.
Oh!
And he's like kind of huddled in a fetal position because he's just afraid and he's alone. He doesn't know how to come out
Of the closet.
But like, but as far as with his emotions, and
Reaches
stuff like
the
that,
other
dealing with it.
demographic.
Now look, you said
Probably
he wasn't
wouldn't use
creative.
closet.
Wait, but you said he wasn't creative. That's super creative.
You know what I'm talking about?
That's
You
super
understand.
creative.
No, but
I
that's-
do.
that's-
I know
I
you
do.
do. I get
For
it.
your
I
book,
know you
I would want to see something a little more dramatic.
Dramatic.
Like how Rob was talking about, like chess with the medals.
Yeah.
Not because it's not to sexualize it, but to show the bareness. Because when you say where was God,
It's a
that's
problem.
that's
he doesn't
big.
have any medals. So
I have a lot of medals.
Well, but
From
or
powerlifting,
even
I
if
do.
you're holding
right.
trophies or whatever it is, or I know you do martial art. I might have said it wrong. What kind?
powerlifting
But
now.
something. Maybe it's just you with the belt. It doesn't even have to be your face, but some type of bareness or some type of ripping open, or
I
you know,
agree with
some
that.
type
I
of
agree with that,
some
seriously.
kind of drama.
I've tried to
would
tell
wanna
him that
see.
for like years. Like, dude, you are the face of it.
Gotcha.
It's not just the
Yeah.
strength, but just the inner strength.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So even if we had like a chest with a little boy inside, and there's a door inside, you know, we could go real deep like that. But I would want to see something heavy.
I like it.
Because
you
where was God is
Lifting up
huge.
your pain, like something
Yep.
Something.
Visualize
Yeah,
you're like
yeah.
powerlifting your pain.
Right.
Yeah.
Where it was
needs to be
God on the
dramatic.
bars.
Yeah.
Awesome.
William Wells, the third's book's coming
That's
soon.
it. It's
So-
coming. Watch out.
Miss
Before this
Yolanda
episode
Lewis,
drops.
Yes.
this has been super awesome.
This was fun.
How can the people follow you, stay connected with you, and all that good
absolutely.
stuff?
So you can follow me on all social media outlets at I am Yolanda Lewis. Or you can go to my website, letsgetomotional.com, and there's plenty of resources
What's the known
there.
website for the one book?
Yes, yes. That's my new brand. Let's get emotional because it's all. Let's get 'em- Let's do it. Let's do it. It's almost like taboo.
This book should come with a song. Like, Let's
Make
get
me
emotional.
one.
I got you.
So they can order the book from the website.
Yes.
Letsgetomotional.com.
Yes.
You heard it here first, folks. Three Kings podcast.
Three
As
Kings.
always, real men having real conversation.
Real
But
conversations.
today we had a sister
With a real
us.
woman.
With a real
Yeah,
woman.
we don't have to say it like soft. Like, no, we got a
It's got-
real man
with
and
a-
a real woman.
And a real woman here.
Talking to you brothers. Hey, real quick, also I want to give a shout out to the New England Christian Television Network hooking us up today for letting us go on air video.
Until
Yeah.
next time.
Thank you so much.
Peace.
All right.
Peace.
Good. All
right.
That was good.
Is that good? All right.
Oh, sorry.